A ticket and there's no turning back now. Round and around like a horse on a carousel. We go.
This boy lied about his age just to date me. Story time, part 3. So his cousin starts talking about I can't believe he's gonna be 16. And I look at her thinking I'm tripping. Like, you said 18, right? Like, you didn't mean 16, you meant 18. And then she's like, no, I meant 16. So that's when I found out he's actually 16, or about to be 16. So I was 17 dating a 15-year-old. And I know a lot of you were like, oh my god, it's not really that much of an age gap. Listen, the fact that he lied about it is bad enough for me. Secondly, I would have been 18 and he still would have been 16, turning 17. But that's a little weird for me and I didn't want to catch a case. That's why I wasn't looking for a younger boy. After I find out this new information, of course I tell my best friends. And they start hyping me up, break up with him, which is what I did. I sent him this huge paragraph. I kind of went off. Of course, he replied to my paragraph saying, I'm sorry, I don't want to lose you, blah, blah, blah. I basically told him, sorry, I don't want to be with liar. I blocked him and
So back in my high school days, there were some weird kids at our school, but I'm sorry, your weirdest story does not top my weirdest story. So once upon a time, I was walking to gym class. I was looking pretty spicy for a 17-year-old in some short shorts. I don't know what just came out of my mouth right there. But anyways, everyone was going through the main entrance to the gym, and I took the back road because I wanted to go vape. There was a little spot by these vending machines that I used to go to, and I went back there. Right before I turned the corner, I heard something really funky, and I peeked around the corner, and I wish I was kidding. There was a freshman just ferociously beating his and immediately two thoughts went into my head. The first one was, wow, thanks for ruining my day. And the second one was, wow, thanks for enlightening my day. And I just want to know why he was going so fast. Did he like recently look at pictures of Megan Fox from the early 2010s? Like, what was the occasion? But I went back there at the end of gym class and I looked on the side of the vending machine and there's actually a stain on the side of the vending machine. The more I think about it, our school was really whack. So when I was in 5th grade, I went to the Mall of America with a friend of mine. If you haven't been to the Mall of America yet, they've got a ride called the Log Chute. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with what a log chute is, so I'm not going to explain it because my voice is tired. So we hop on the ride, and we wanted to see if we could get in trouble today, apparently. So in the middle of the log chute ride, we started standing up on the log, and almost immediately, they went over the intercom and they said, please sit down. I said, okay, wow, Mrs. Bossy. And then I said, hey, we gotta mess with this lady who's watching the cameras. I had no idea they had cameras on here. And now that I'm thinking about this story, this is some sus activity. I told my homie, hey, on the way up, when there's like 3 or 4 cameras, just pretend to grab my I wish I was kidding. And he actually did it, and we stared directly into one of the camera's souls. And let me tell you something, I have never seen a more disgusted face of a middle-aged woman in my life when I got off that ride. Yes, all my fellow chickens, I was a terrible kid.
Story time, my dad got my half-brother's girlfriend pregnant. A little background information. This all happened a few years ago. Anyways, my brother was fresh out of high school and he had been dating this girl named Serena for 2 years. And my dad, for some reason, hated her. At least that's what we thought. Well, my brother didn't have a license at the time, so every time that she came over, she needed somebody to drop her off at home. So my dad would always offer to drop her off at home, even though he literally hated her. And he could have just ordered her an Uber, which is what he did with all of my friends. Well, the one night her parents called and they were like, hey, like, is Serena still there? She hasn't came home yet. And my dad said that he was dropping her off. So I called my dad and he said that they ran out of gas on the side of the road. So that was just like one incident. Well, the next morning my mom goes to get in the car for work and she finds a thong in the car. So she brings it in the house and she asks me, hey, is this yours? Meanwhile, I had never seen them before. So then she goes and asks my half-brother and my dad's whose they are, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my dad got my half-brother's girlfriend pregnant. So like I said, my mom found that thong in the car. She came and asked me if it was mine. I said no. So then she asked my dad and my brother whose they were. So she asked my dad first. He said, I don't know whose they are. He said they probably just fell out of Serena's bag. And then she asked my brother. And my brother said, oh, those are Serena's. So after that, my brother came in my room. And he was like, do you think it's weird that the same underwear that Serena was wearing before she left ended up in the car? So I guess she had the underwear on literally before she fucking left the house. Dumb bitch alert. Anyway, so a few weeks later, Serena breaks up with my brother. Well, around the same time, my dad started staying after work really late, like every day of the week. Well, long story short, my mom went through his phone because she felt like something was going on, and she reads a conversation between my dad and Serena. Like, oh, I'm so sad that you couldn't come to the ultrasound. So then my mom and him divorced, and he's currently raising his child with Serena.
Years ago, an exchange student came to my house to feel what America is like. It was our first exchange student, so we spoiled him a lot. One time when my parents were at work and my brother and I were at school, he was at our house. He took my brother's ATV keys that my brother tried to hide from him because he was obsessed with it. He went outside and he did donuts, crashed down a hill, got it back up, and crashed into one of our garage doors. To this day, one of two of my garage doors look entirely different. He had to pay for the damages, so the bitch got what they deserved.
So, when I was 15 years old, my mom comes into my room on Mother's Day, and she goes, "Good morning, Laura. Oh my God, since it's Mother's Day, you want to cut my hair for me?" And I'm like, "Yes." And so she's like, "I'll meet you on the back porch." And I'm like, "Okay, great. Oh, I'm so excited. No experience cutting hair, ever." And so I go and grab some kitchen scissors and I meet her out there, and I'm like, "What do you want to do to your hair?" And she's like, "I want you to cut it short." And I'm like, "Gotcha." So I grab her hair like this and I like cut it. And it's like so scraggly looking, like, oh my God. And so I'm laughing because I know I'm doing a bad job, but I'm trying. And she's like, "Why are you laughing? Are you doing a bad job?" And I'm like, "No, like I'm trying, like it looks okay." And then she goes, "Can you give me some bangs?" And I'm like, "Yes." And so I brush her hair to the front and I'm like, grrr, and it looks horrific. She goes to the bathroom to look at it and starts crying.
In kindergarten, there was this girl named Emily who was a massive bitch, or at least as much of a bitch as you can be at 5 years old. And she had this beautiful golden long blonde hair, and she had the coolest toys. She had the Build-A-Bear with roller skates, and she also stole both of my friends, Claire and Sylvie. I'm keeping the names in just like Taylor Swift. Anyway, they were my only two friends, and she told them that they could not play with me. And she also made them eat dirt and threatened them, and she was terrible. So I told the teacher, but the teacher was in her last year before retirement, so she decided not to do anything, obviously. But one day at lunch, I was sitting there, and I guess Emily was sitting next to me, because as I was opening my lunch, I realized that my mom had packed my favorite snack, chocolate pudding, and I was so excited. And as I was opening it up, I remember so clearly the thought that went through my mind of how beautiful Emily's golden blonde hair would be with that dark brown of the chocolate. So I dumped it on her head.
Hey, you want to hear another story about the time that I went to a Christian school for my entire life and my virginity was compared to an object? Great, because I've got a lot. So when I was in high school, my school realized, hey, some of these girls like sports. Unheard of. So they sat us all down, just the girls. I don't know where the boys were, probably doing something stupid. They sat the girls down and they said, "Girls, your purity, not the word virginity. They would never use the word virginity. It's purity. So your purity, it's like a football. And you can't throw your football around too many times or else it gets deflated, right? Right? So you have to keep your football in its pristine packaging until the day you get married. And then your husband can throw around that football. And you can give it to him to do with whatever he pleases."
Okay, story time. So I work at a jewelry store, and today a man came in looking for a gift for his wife for their 10th year anniversary. He ended up picking out a piece that said, "My beautiful wife." And I said, "Anything else for you today?" And he said, "No, that's it for her, but I do want to make another purchase using a separate credit card. And could you possibly create a different account for me?" And I said, "Sure, what are you looking for?" And he said, "Do you have anything that says girlfriend?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Perfect, I'll take it. And do you have anything that says happy 1 year anniversary to go with it?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Perfect, I'll take it." So I boxed everything up all nice and I put them in their respected bags. He had me mark a K for Kristen on the bottom of his wife's bag and an L for Laura on the bottom of his girlfriend's bag. I put pretty bows on them. I handed it to him. I said, "They're gonna love it. Have a nice day." And he said, "Thank you." And shit, I just remembered that his wife's name is Laura and his girlfriend's name is Kristen. I must have mixed up the bags.
Time about the first time I wore a swimsuit at the beach. I'm 21 and it's the first time I'm going to wear a swimsuit in public. I'm really nervous and my boyfriend is like, "Take off your t-shirt, let's just go." I'm like, "Okay, it's cool, let's do this, let's go." I get like an inch before the water and I hear to the left of me, "Your body's offending me." And I'm like, "Yeah, your body's offending me and you look like a whore." Bitch! This is my first time I've worn a swimsuit out ever in public and this is what happens? So, I mean, as soon as you call out my body, I just was like, you just opened all doors for me to roast you.
Oh, I did it. I stooped to her level, and well, fuck you, you fat bitch. That's why you eat McDonald's every day to look like that, and I work out every day to look like this, you fucking crackhead, motherfucking ass, oompa loompa body ass bitch. And well, she's all like, oh my god. Comes to her husband that was looking at me, and he comes up to my boyfriend. He's like, you need to correct yo girl. Like, bro, your wife was out of pocket. And then 2 sheriffs come over and they kick them out of the park, ban them from the park, are like, it's like your swimsuit is fine. This is a beach. You can wear that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to post a picture of me in a really, really nice bikini on social media. So then I did that and I feel a lot better about myself. But now I don't ever want to go in public in a swimsuit because, the fuck. And there was people all on that beach that recorded the whole thing because I was going in on her ass and she was being mean right back to me. So whoever has those films that happened in Michigan on a beach of a fat lady telling me I was a whore and I went back at her and called her a crackhead, send that to me on my
Storytime ex-boyfriend edition. Let's talk about the drama. So I dated this guy for about a year and a half. I knew him for 8 years before that. He was actually my teacher at university. But don't worry, we dated way after I graduated. I'm even a little bit older than him. Artsy, cute, nerdy, what can go wrong? Well, we could only hang out after 7 p.m. and there were only specific days that we could hang out. Yes, I know, red flags, I was stupid. But the time we had together was amazing. So I decided to turn a blind eye. This guy, with no shame at all, hangs out with other girls and posts them all over his social media. He refused to call me his girlfriend, but I was the love of his life, the most beautiful girl he's ever been with. I even went to his family functions. So basically, I was a girlfriend at convenience. So I start paying attention. There's girls' hair all over his apartment. Perfectly laid out, by the way. She knew about me. So I decided that I was going to take my pink hair and lay it right next to hers. This story gets so juicy, like for part 2. Storytime ex-boyfriend edition part 2. So the girl my boyfriend was cheating on me with was strategically placing all of her black, beautiful hair all over his apartment. I then proceeded to leave my beautiful pink hair right next to hers. Within a day, I started finding bobby pins and lady garments in places that I would definitely find them. Needless to say, my relationship with him was over. He apparently was so heartbroken and called me 3 times a day for 6 months straight. I finally picked up the phone and we decided to be friends since we had a 8-year friend relationship prior to this.
Story time. My parents found out that I was dating a white boy. So a little background information. My parents are super strict, especially my dad. And on top of that, my dad thought that races should not mix. One of his sayings was, you don't see a blue jay fucking a pigeon. AKA, white people and black people should not be together. Sounds fucking stupid. Yeah, I know. Anyways, like I was saying, it was my freshman year of high school and I had been dating this boy for 2 months. And of course he was white. And we had to keep it super low-key because if any of my friends found out about it, they would have fucking told my dad. Now when I look back at it, those weren't good friends at all. Anyways, every Friday, my boyfriend and I would go to the movies. And we would go to this theater that was 45 minutes away because nobody that I knew would be there. The only person that knew that I was dating a white boy was my sister. Well, the one day after the movies, I couldn't get a ride home, so I had to get a ride home with him and his family. And as soon as I pulled up, my parents were waiting outside, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my parents found out that I was dating a white boy. So like I said, my sister couldn't come pick me up, so I had to get a ride with him and his family. And what do you know, as soon as we pull up to my fucking house, my dad is standing on the porch waiting for me. So I told his parents to drive around the block one more time while I called my sister and told her to distract my dad. So as we're driving up to my house again, I see that my dad isn't on the porch. So I run into the house before he could see me getting out of a white boy's car. So a few months go by and we're still dating, very low key. And the one night at 3 a.m, I get woken up by my sister. And she says, you better delete any pictures that you have of you and you know who off your phone. And you better come up with the story right now. Because one of your friends took pictures of you walking with him in the hallways and kissing him behind the stairwell at school. So after I deleted everything off my phone, a few seconds later, my dad came into my room screaming his head off. He was so mad. I ended up getting my ass beat, and I also got grounded from my phone for 4 months. But after that, my mom ended up leaving my dad, and then him and I got back together.